So if you're on the lookout for a gaming monitor that is big, curved, has a decent picture quality and a high refresh rate but isn't too taxing on your graphics card or wallet, the MSI Optix G27C5 might be a decent option. So let's check it out and see if it's something you should consider. Peeking at the spec sheet, the G27C5 retains a 27-inch VA panel. Well, hold on, I know what you're thinking, VA panel sucks, but to me the colors just looks great. I mean, I could barely notice any difference while looking at my IPS laptop panel, so I guess yeah. The panel with 1080p resolution and 16:9 aspect ratio along with 1500R curvature and its incredibly fast 1 millisecond response time, and just like its predecessor, the peak brightness of 250 nits. It has a native FreeSync variable refresh rate support and it works with Nvidia graphics cards. The input lag is incredibly low and it has a max refresh rate of 165Hz, which you can get through a DisplayPort connection, but it only comes with an HDMI cable out of the box that can get you a maximum of 144Hz refresh rate, which is a bummer. So I had to order my own DisplayPort separately. The G27C5 has a decent build quality, with no obvious gaps or loose panels. It's not as good as the Max series, but the back of the monitor is sleek with a simple design. There's no quick release for the stand. The monitor has a very thin borders on the three sides, making this a good choice for a multi-monitor setup. This monitor has a V-shaped stand that supports the monitor well, although the overall footprint is large. The design leaves lots of room to place small objects in front of it. Both the stands and the display together weigh around 4.6 kilograms. Despite the stand being covered in plastic, it is metal inside, so it didn't feel cheap at all. The only screen adjustment you can do is a screen tilt, with no height adjustment or left or right swivel whatsoever. In terms of the color accuracy, MSI noted that the panel is capable of 82% of sRGB, and the panel also has a 3000:1 contrast ratio. The on-screen display was pretty easy to use and navigate through. There is a joystick on the right hand side which is pressed to access the menu. The I/O is on the back towards the bottom, faces down. While looking at the back side, we can find a DVI port, an HDMI 2.0, a DisplayPort 1.2 output, a 3.5 headphone jack, and a power input. No USB hub or speaker here. As for the overall dimension, the panel itself is width of 61 by 15.5 centimeters and a depth of 36.3 centimeters. In terms of the display functionality, going into display settings again, and you want to make sure that you're doing all your settings properly. Going into advanced display, display adapter settings, and then of course you want to make sure that you are set at 165Hz, which again you can only achieve using DisplayPort, and apply that. And of course, as we mentioned earlier, this monitor also has a G-Sync FreeSync built into it. So you want to set up your G-Sync, just click on the monitor and apply for Windows in full screen mode, and you want to enable settings for the selected displays and then hit apply. And you will be able to enjoy the true G-Sync functionality, which is of course really nice to have in gaming. So going into display settings for gaming, I just have it as user defined. I do play with my own settings. For example, night vision, I leave it normal. It's gonna control the blacks in the monitor. I can think normal is kind of the way to go for me. Response time, that's how you get the true 1 millisecond response time, so keep it at the fastest. And in terms of anti-motion, I just leave it off. Refresh rate, if you want to view your refresh rate on the monitor itself, you can do that, but if you know that you've got 165Hz enabled in the display settings, then you don't want to touch that. It can be a little bit distracting. And in terms of the screen assistant, you can basically turn some screen assistant crosshairs, also known as for cheating, so don't do that. I'm not a fan of that. And then of course FreeSync, of course you want to make sure that FreeSync is enabled for this. So going into professional, again I just use my own user defined settings for that. Eye saver changes the blues, adds a little bit more orange to it. Image enhancement is a way you can basically do sharpening. It's like a cheap anti-aliasing, so it doesn't look very good, just keep it off. I'd imagine the brightness is like totally up to your own preference. Contrast during the daytime I keep it at 80. I think it's good middle ground there. Sharpness, again, I leave at 0 because it just doesn't look very good. You can change the color temperature to make it cooler or warmer. It's all up to you. And the last but not least, here you can change your aspect ratio. You can play with your scale 4:3. So I just leave it at auto. It should get the job done for you. And of course you can jump between displays, and really nothing else I see very necessary to look through. So some closing remarks to this monitor. I would say for the price point you can find it to that, it is actually a very compelling deal. And if you can find it below $200, I don't think there is a reason you should not pick this up. I know 1080p resolution feels a bit outdated for a 27-inch nowadays with all the new hardware we're getting, but this monitor is really good for what the money can buy. The 165 Hz 1 millisecond response time put it near to the top of its class in gaming displays. So what do you guys think of the G27C5? Personally, I really liked it. High refresh rate, games just plays very smoothly. Even browsing the web feels very nice and smooth. Color accuracy is very nice to the eye. I guess that's it. Alright, this concludes our review. So let me know what you guys think about this monitor. And don't forget to subscribe for more content. Peace.